Hey guys, I'm Parker,
Hey guys, I'm Seid.
I'm Mike.
and this is the Tryhards podcast.
So welcome guys to the first 2025 episode of the Try Hard podcast. So for our first episode of 2025, we're going to be doing a 2024 recap. So we're going to review our years in 2024, then we're going to do a pro review of 2024, and then what we are looking forward to in 2025. So to start it off, we're just gonna go over the races that we did. So I guess Parker, do you want to start us off? Like, what races did you do this year?
Sure. So we kicked things off, started strong at Ironman Texas with my first ever DNF. So that was the first. Not definitely it's kind of bad tasting medicine. Definitely not the way I wanted to start, but looking back on it, I think it's one of the better things that could have happened to me because I definitely learned a lot from it, both, as an athlete, as a coach, and as just as a person in general. So it took a lot of takeaways from that race, and I definitely think it helped me later in the year, and it will continue to, teach me lessons and help me grow as an athlete in the future. After that, didn't really do too much. Took a while to recover from that, even though I only raced for about an hour. just just the whole mental side of it, really. Yeah, the highs and the lows. But took some time off, and then we did a bunch of 70.3s. I think I raced like felt almost like every weekend, but I think I raced at least 3 times. Two of them were more local triathlons in the Midwest area. And then also with one of my athletes, Rob, and I did really well at those. I think I actually won. I know I won my age group in both of them, and I think I won overall at least one of them. And then I actually also did muscle. I always get Muscleman and Eagleman mixed up, but it was Muscleman. And up in New York, I actually stayed with Mike. That was a lot of fun. And something I learned during that period was really trying to approach races more as training days. Obviously, for world championships and bigger races, it's a little bit different, but I was performing really well at these races without much of a taper at all. And I think it really has to do with the fact that I was just relaxed, just having a good time, and just enjoying the process and the training and the racing, honestly. And so Muscleman was a great race for me. I ended up placing second overall, won my age group, and I qualified for the half Ironman World Champs at Marbella. So I took my slot there. And then after that, we kind of got into full Kona prep, and we finished the year off at Kona, which I still have kind of mixed emotions at that. The experience itself was incredible. I definitely will want to go back and will be going back. It was amazing. Had made some great memories. Mike came out with me for a week. That was a lot of fun. We did some great training out there, and then the actual race itself didn't go quite as planned, but I think we learned a lot about my training leading up to the race, and we will be making some adjustments based on that, my coach and I. So it was a very valuable learning lesson. And honestly, meeting some of the top pros, seeing them train out there, it was truly something else. So I really did enjoy that. And I did actually sign up to do one more race, Ironman Cozumel, but I ended up getting sick and was unable to race there. So yeah, that's kind of how the year ended up for me. And that's gonna do it, I
Yeah,
guess.
Parker, what was
Yeah.
your time at Kona? I know it was not your ideal time, but it was, I would say, 99.9% of triathletes like life goal to do what you did at Kona. So how did
Yeah, I
you
mean,
do?
for ended up for having to walk, the last 16 miles of the marathon, I guess I did pretty well. I think I went like a 9:11, 9:11, 9:12. So still I guess a semi-respectable time. And but it is motivating because at certain points of the race I was in top 7, top 8 and running faster than almost the entire field. And so I know I can compete at that next level. It's just gonna have to take some practice with bottle handling skills on the bike. So hopefully next year we can accomplish that.
Yep. And then Mike, do you want to go into your year overview?
Yeah.
Schedule?
So, I started off my season with half Ironman Eagleman. Uh, and that race went really well. I went down there with Ezra, stayed with him. It was kind of last minute because I was supposed to do Ironman Texas. Didn't end up doing that because I was dealing with an ankle injury from like November of 2023 until almost March of 2024. But went to Eagleman, went 4:28, which was a PB for me. Had a great experience in the bike and the run, not so much the swim. It was like it was actually one of my worst swims, I think, in a 70.3 in recent memory, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't always swim fast in the Chop Tank River. So
The top
uh,
tank.
chalk it up to anything. And then went to Ironman Lake Placid, did my first full, and did that one in 10 hours and 12 minutes. And I think I was like ninth or 10th in age group and missed Kona by like one slot when they did the roll downs. So that stung a little bit, but it was, I wouldn't have been ready for Kona anyway. And even if I thought I was, I learned at Kona with Parker that I would not have been, no matter what. And then I rounded out my season with Ironman Maryland, went 9:48 there, so set a PB, had a really good experience for most of the race up until like the back half of the marathon was tough, but still can't be upset about setting a new PB.
And then I can go over my super long season. So as most of the listeners know, I am strictly an Ironman athlete. So I did 2 Ironmans.
Well, that's gonna change.
That is that is a new thing that's going to change in 2025, unfortunately, or fortunately. We'll see if I like 70.3. But yeah, so I started off the season at Texas. So 2024 was really fun because I remember we were all training for Texas going. So at this time last year, we were all training for Ironman Texas. So it was me, Parker, and Mike, and we were all doing very similar workouts, and it was such a fun time. So that's how I started off my year with Texas, and then Texas was ooh, really like probably the worst. I don't know about the worst, but probably one of the hardest things I've done because I crashed mile 31 of the bike, and then my day was just done. So I did Ironman Texas in 12 hours and 40 minutes. So that was the hard part of 2024. But Texas honestly was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in 2024 because after Texas, my like desire to train just reached an all-time high. I've always wanted to do Ironman and train a lot, but after Texas and like going 12:40 when I wanted to go sub 10 there is so I was like what close to 3 hours off. So it really made me want to train hard. So that was the good part about Texas. And then I raced Ironman Maryland as well. So that was my year. I went 10:04 at Maryland, so just missed my goal of sub 10 at Maryland, but keeps the sub 10 goal alive. So we still have 2 more chances, 2025. So yeah, that was my races for 2024. And then what was I gonna say? So do you guys want to go into like main lessons that we've learned this year in regards to triathlon? I mentioned one. So my one, I guess the lesson I learned was like you really do need to train a lot, and you never know what's gonna happen during an Ironman, but you're just gonna have to, at least for me as an age grouper that's never going to go pro or ever be like super like elite, I would say. Like I can't ever, like one thing about Texas Island is like I don't know, I would never want to like DNF on a race because like I race twice a year. So I just like I know Parker DNF, and this is nothing against Parker or anything, but this is what just for
No,
me.
I completely agree with
I
you.
like I race twice a year, and like I feel like if you're at a level like me where you're training 20 hours a week or 18 to 20 hours a week and you have 2 races a year, if you're gonna DNF it and it doesn't affect your livelihood or anything, it just like I think it just really doesn't look good like on like me. So Parker's like actually like fast and good, and he has a chance. He's gonna have like better chances. Like for me, I'm just trying to go sub 10. Anyone can go sub 10. So you're just kind of like disrespecting. I would say you're disrespecting yourself and like all the other racers there too. Like some people are out there for 16 hours, and I feel like you're really bummed about 12 hours, 40 minutes. Like that's someone's like best, like that's someone's dream. So like Parker's sat at 9/11 at Kona, but like me and Mike, I think like that's our dream one day to go like 9/11 at Kona. So
Yeah.
that's one big lesson I learned. And then 2024. And then another lesson in 2024 was, so this was my first full year in triathlon. So I started triathlon in 2023, back end of summer. So I've only been in triathlon for a year and a half. And when I first started working with Parker, every workout was just crush the workout, just give it maximal effort, be the guy that just like crushes every workout.
You
But
still do
no,
that.
I do not do that anymore. I can promise you I do not do that anymore because now I just, for me, what I like, another lesson I took away is like you just have to go to every session, complete it, and thinking of the next session in mind. Like really, like for if you're focusing on Ironman, the only thing that really matters is consistency and consistency and volume. And when you put those two together, you're just going to be good. So I want to be able to put together a good consistency and volume this year into 2025. So those are, I guess, my two or three main lessons I learned in 2024. Mike, do you want to go next?
Yeah, yeah. So I wrote down two, and the one that I'm gonna mention first is kind of echoes on what you just said, and it's kind of paraphrasing what Zachary Bernier Michaud told us. That the most important session is the next one.
Yep.
And that you basically need to be fueling and making decisions with your next session in mind. Um, and like I think a good example of that this year, that where I learned my lesson on that was, I think it was either like a 4x8 or 5x8 minute, like it was supposed to be th sub threshold workout on the bike that Parker gave me. And I saw that I think Seid had done that workout and went pretty hard and did a great job. And I was like, oh, like I'm gonna go prove to Parker that I don't, you know what, the workout might not even have been on my training peaks. I think I asked Seid to send it to me so that I could do it.
I probably sent it. I said, please don't tell Parker I sent you this.
Yeah, and I was just kind of being an idiot. And I was like, you know what? I feel fresh today. Like I want to go out and just crush this crazy hard bike. And I didn't, it was supposed to be sub threshold. I went well above threshold on every interval. And I was so excited at the end. And like I had to prove something to someone. And it doesn't do that much for you. Like that, it wasn't the right training stimulus that we were trying to drive in that moment, and it probably screwed up my recovery for like a week afterwards, like on my sessions. So just, yeah, when your coach gives you sessions, trust your coach, fuel them properly, and just, you know, be aware of what you have coming up on your training plan. But then kind of on the flip side of that, the other thing I wrote down was like run the mile you're in, or focus on the interval that you are in. Like when you are in your workout or you're in a race, just staying in the moment and focusing on what the task at hand. Um, it kind of contradicts what I just said, but it's more so that when you're actually in the workout, you're just staying focused on that specific interval or mile.
No, I think it works. The way you said it works perfectly together because like you have to really think about that interval. Like before, you were saying you were going too hard on them, so that's exactly, you're not thinking about the interval. So you do have to like put that thought process in to make sure you're reaching that stimulus that you want.
And actually, something that Natasha told me a long time ago, that kind of has to do with this, is that sometimes she would, before going into a workout, like either like even like the night before, if she saw like a workout tomorrow, that she would kind of write down on a piece of workout, this is what the goal of the workout is. Just so, because sometimes, like, and I'm sure we've all done this. We got into a workout, we're feeling good, just like Mike said, and we just start pushing. But if you go into the workout already, you know what the intent of the workout is, then it's much easier to not fall into that trap and overdo it. But some of the lessons I learned, besides, well, Texas was a big one. I think that was definitely the biggest lesson, and that was races aren't just about the numbers, and how one race doesn't define who you are as an athlete. And not every race, you're not going to win every race. You're not going to set a personal best every race, and that's okay. That's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to improve every single time, or not necessarily not improve, but not every race is going to be a breakout race, and you're not going to set a PR every time you go out. And that's honestly the biggest lesson I learned. And that's definitely something I will be taking into 2025 with me and into, the rest of my triathlon career. So, yeah. Do you guys want to talk about a little professional, any big insights or takeaways from the pro field, any surprises or anything you want to touch on concerning the pros in 2024?
Sure. I was gonna go. Do you want to like?
Do you want to do the highs and lows of the year, and then after that we'll go into pros?
Yeah, let's do that. So let's
Oh,
do.
great.
So
Go
high
ahead.
and low of the year for me. High would be easily Ironman Maryland run. So if you guys have listened to the Ironman Maryland episode, you guys have to listen to that. Where I go detail into my run at Ironman Maryland. But my favorite, that was my high because I got to see Jake, Mike out there, and then all these other, so many people I knew in the area because I live in the Northern Virginia, so I'm really close to Maryland, so I knew a lot of people racing, so that was so much fun. And also, if you've done Ironman Maryland, you know that where you do the turnaround by the bars. I was going crazy there and making everyone really cheer a lot there. So that was my high of the year. And then my low of the year was after my crash, I got up and I was like, oh damn, this sucks. And I kept going. I was like waiting. It was I think I had six or 7 miles until the first aid station. I was like, just please get me to this aid station, get me to this aid station. And those 6 to 7 miles felt like an hour. And I get to that aid station, I sit in the chair and I see, I think 3 or 4 NVDM athletes like past the aid station grab water and like they all stop and like, oh, do you need anything? Like, do you want me to stop? And I was like, no, just keep going. So that was my low of the year, but it was also kind of a high. Just have fellow NVDM athletes trying to pick me up during a low moment.
Mike?
My low of the year was Seid's high of the year. Ironman Maryland run, specifically the back half of the marathon. That's where I kind of blew up and was like dry heaving. But then my high of the year was probably the last mile at Ironman Lake Placid and crossing the finish line of my first Ironman. That's like a feeling that you just can't match. Like I don't know if it'll ever feel like that crossing. It maybe will. Maybe at Kona or Nice it'll feel like that. But like crossing for the first time in an Ironman is pretty cool. And then I just wanted to give an honorable mention. Like it wasn't the high of the year, but it's like pretty close to that. Like the Kona and Lake Placid training trip that we did. Those were pretty sweet. So, and I had never done training trips before. So that was awesome.
That's a bummer. I wasn't at either one of those, so I need to make sure to hit up.
That's probably why I was a high.
That's why it was the high because Seid wasn't there. Oh,
My high of
Uh,
2025 is gonna be when Seid comes to, and you too, Parker, when you guys come to the Lake Placid training trip this year, and I get to drop Seid up the white face climb.
oh yeah. We'll see about
And
that one,
Parker will
bud.
drop me too.
yeah, no, we'll see about that. For me, low, even though like low Ironman Texas, although I wouldn't change anything about it. Because I definitely like, as I said, like 5 times already, it was great lessons learned. Actually, no, a low is getting my wisdom teeth removed. That was in 20, that was on New Year's Eve. So that was still in 2024. That's gonna be my low. Man, that was not fun. Anyway, and then my high has to be the Kona. I mean, it's the once in a lifetime when Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden take your phone and film an outro for your YouTube channel that you can record and keep forever. So that's gonna be my high of the year, definitely.
Sweet. So let's go into the second part of the pod where we're going to talk about professional racing in 2024. So let's start it off with favorite professional race, performance, male and female. Can I? You guys want me to start, or do you guys want to go?
Hey, you
You
go.
go.
You go. Okay. So my favorite performance, for male. I guess you can. So this is triathlon, so you can pick any. You can pick any distance. But you just have to be realistic that Ironman's the best distance. So I'm gonna pick my favorite performance from a male was Magnus Ditlev in Kona. This is could be controversial because a lot of people would say Patrick Lang was the outright one, which he did, and he like dominated the field by like winning by like what 6 7 minutes. But Magnus coming into T2, like all the pros were saying, like they couldn't like they all thought Magnus was gonna DNF the race. For him to run into second just like showed how much of a machine and like how calculated he is in racing, and just Magnus is my favorite triathlete, and that was just another reason for me to become even bigger of a fan. He just never quits, and I think he just like the cliche cringy Iron Man like slogan, anything is possible. Like he really just put that in that race. So that was my favorite race by male. And then here, you guys go, and then we can do females after. So you guys go for male.
All right, I'll go. I think my favorite this is tough, but I think I'm gonna go with Martin Van Riel at the T100 San Francisco. That is just that run battle. I remember watching that, and that was just something else. And the way the way he, finished it out and just smoked everyone, or not smoked everyone, but he won it. And then kind of along that, but honorable mention would probably be Martin Van Riel just at Dubai, the way that he pretty much he dominated whenever he raced, and made it fun to watch too. I would say Taylor Knibb, but honestly, watching her isn't that fun because she's out in front for so long and no one's really catching her. So maybe in 2025. But yeah, I love the run battles. Those are always fun to watch. So that's why I'm going with Martin Van Riel.
Speaking of run battles, my favorite male race performance was Alex Yee at the Olympics. Catching Hayden Wild there on the last couple 100 meters or something like that. Last kilometer, like that was pretty amazing. So
Nice, love it. And then
best female performance. What do you think, Sid?
so for female, like I hate this question was like hard for me because um like for a single performance, like my fit, like probably my like, so I'm an Ironman guy, so I'm gonna, or actually no, this is easy. I'm gonna say Ann Hogg at Roth. What she won 8:02, so close to going sub 8. So that I think that's insanely impressive. And then I think actually Laura Phillip and Ann Hogg, I think it would be tied for the single-handedly for the most impressive performance. We could also say Taylor Knibb for all of her races, but I'm just going to go for long distance. So that's what I'm going to say. Ann Hogg and yeah, and then Nice. Yep.
I'm gonna go with Taylor. I know I just said this, but Taylor Knibb for 70.3 worlds. Just
Mm,
because T100, it was kind of like, it was already said and done that she was going to win. But I think the bigger question was she going to be able to hold on at a little bit longer of a distance at the half Ironman? And, she did. And that's why I'm choosing her for the 70 or for female performance of the year.
Yeah, I picked Taylor Knibb as well, but in Dubai, just because I thought it was
goodbye.
kind of a funny ending to that. Yeah,
That was a good one.
she won despite some GI distress at the end and didn't want the camera to capture her crossing the finish line from the rear.
Mhm.
I will say an honorable mention from the men's is actually going to be Christian Blumenfeld at Kona. I'm going to give him major kudos. The fact that he didn't DNF and finish the race, like you could say Sam Long too, but I think Christian Blumenfeld, because he really dealt with a lot more GI distress and he already had the disappointing race at the Olympics. So I think for him, the pressure was I think he was under the most pressure out of all the pros. And so for him to still finish the race, even though he was having kind of, a bad day, that's gonna be my kind of honorable mention.
Sweet. So then let's move on to those are just like individual performances. So let's say overall best male and female triathlete of 2024. And this one we're all gonna have to agree on. So it's like a mini discussion.
Well,
I
I
feel
think
like
for the female, it's kind of easy. I think Taylor Knibb. I don't know how
Yeah,
you can
I,
argue.
I agree. Yeah, that
I
was
think
me.
Taylor Knibb, if you were to choose anyone else or give an honorable mention to someone, it's got to be Kat Matthews.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say because yep.
So
yeah.
consistent.
I
And
think if she won Ironman World Champs, then I would give it to Kat. I think.
yeah,
Agree.
like she was balancing Ironman Pro Series as well as T100, which like she balanced it better than anyone did, which was
Yeah.
very impressive. A lot of the athletes didn't even fulfill their contract with T100.
Yep. And then
Now
for
for the
male, what do you guys think? I
I
think
think
it's
I'm
a
actually
lot
gonna make
harder.
Seid very happy. I'm gonna go with Magnus.
Mm,
Really?
I think just because kind of similar to Cat Matthews, he did he did very well. I mean, look what he did at Challenge Roth, then look how he did Kona. He had some very good results at T100,
He
especially
won
at the
200,
beginning of
yeah.
the year. So,
Mhm.
I mean, across the board, you could say I think Martin Van Riel too, but he didn't race any Ironmans. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with him. Or I think Magnus.
I think if the year ended maybe at Roth, I guess you could include Kona as well in that. Then I would say like it goes to Magnus, but I think Martin Van Riel was pretty dominant in almost every. I mean, he won every race except for one, and then I guess the Olympics too. He
Yeah.
didn't win the Olympics, but
But he
uh,
was just in one
Wow,
distance.
we're so torn on this. Wow. I was gonna say overall, like, I was gonna say Hayden Wild maybe. Because he came second. Or it's so hard, but if we're I don't know, because it is an Olympic year, maybe we just sit. What about Alex E? Like winning the Olympics is insanely hard. Like
and he
insanely hard.
won.
Like Kona.
Well, he did win some Super League events too, but didn't win the overall. I think Hayden won the overall on
Yeah, he
this.
did. But he
But
did win the World Tri. He won WTCS overall. Alex E.
uh,
So that's the other series. This one's hard because like we're long course guys, but I don't know.
That's why I'm choosing Magnus because he was, if you look, he was the only one out of all that mentioned that also did an Ironman and performed well at it.
Yeah, and got the fastest Ironman ever.
Although Martin Van Riel did do an did race Cosimo at the end there.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
after
so I guess okay, I can go with Martin. Yeah, I can go with that because he did Cozumel, and if he didn't crash, he would have won and qualified. So, yeah, I can go with him.
Okay,
okay,
yeah, I'll go Martin too, just because everyone knows I'm the biggest Magnus fan, so I can't say Magnus for everything.
All right.
And
2025
last
race.
part about the pros, should we go over just T100
Oh,
and then Ironman Pro Series in 24, and then how is it going to differ into 2025?
yeah, yeah. So I think like the T100 series is starting to become more like ITU racing from what it seems like. I know there's been a whole bunch of controversy on Instagram lately from different accounts with people sharing opinions about it, and I think I think the problem that like some of these pro triathletes who are maybe long distance athletes that are also trying to do T100 is that Ironman is still very much a big thing. And like people want to do Ironmans, they want to do 70.3s. And even when like T100 was there for Vegas, a lot of people made the decision to say like, hey, I'm going to Kona. I'm not going to T100 Las Vegas. Like those were close, I think, in time frame, and people were prioritizing Kona. So I feel like a lot of the athletes, if it wasn't a money thing, I think the Ironman series would probably get more people. But because there's like guaranteed money on the line, I think that's what is pulling a lot of these athletes still back into the T100 series
When you're saying that for 2025, you think?
for 2025.
Or
But because it's a non-Kona year, I don't know. It's interesting.
hmm What do you think, Parker?
Yeah, no, I agree with what Mike said there. I still think Iron Man, people are saying T100 is coming up and it is, but I think that at the end of the day, Iron Man is still Iron Man. And this was, I think, who was it that said it? Oh, Helly Geens said that in the most recent podcast on that triathlon hour when he won 70.3 Worlds. He was saying how many doors that opened for him in sponsorship. And people really still care about the half Ironman World Championships, I think, and or just Ironman World Championships in general. So I don't think that's going to change much, even with Q100 coming up. But yeah, you're going to have to be a lot more specialized in 2025. You aren't going to be able to jump back and forth, or if you do, you're not going to be as competitive as you may have been last year.
Yeah, as you just said, the specialized. I love that because the one big thing that T100 is doing different in 2025 is like the contract. So everyone basically got six figures 2024. So everyone is going to get that money, but like almost no one fulfilled their contract. But now the contracts are all what? Like they're like people were saying 40 to 50% less. So you get the less upfront money, but then you get a way bigger bonus for actually doing everything. So that just shows that everyone that's like doing the T100 series is there just to focus on it. I think that's what T100 wants. They just want the highest level racing at every race. And that's not possible when the contracted athletes still want to go for Ironman. So I'm really happy about that with T100. And on like social media, a lot of people are complaining about like, oh, short course athletes are doing it, and it's like, oh, it's turning into short course. Well, it's not really turning to short course. It's just they're taking athletes. Short course athletes are known to like participate in series. Like all of short course triathlon, it's like a yearly series, and they always do that. So I think that's gonna be great for the T100 because everyone they're picking up is gonna like be super committed to the series, and it's gonna be really interesting. And then that also just means everyone that's doing the Ironman series is gonna be super dedicated to that. So like Magnus not taking a T100 contract, like it's gonna be super fun, like watching, following both series because I think they're both gonna be way more competitive this year. So I think pro triathlon is gonna be great in 2025, and I'm really excited about it. And then one last thing for pro triathlon, like Mike was saying, like Ironman is still a big fish. Like Ironman's not just a big fish. Like nobody in like triathlon is such a small and niche sport. Nobody that's not in triathlon is gonna really like pick up on T100, and almost everyone that's not like a lot of people know about Kona that aren't into triathlon. So that's my point of view on that.
That's all they know.
Yeah, they only know Kona because like even I was in the I was in the Frankfurt airport for my layover, and I'm wearing my Ironman Texas hoodie, and like all the Germans are like, what's Ironman?" And like there's one of the biggest European Ironmans is in Germany, Ironman Frankfurt. So like if even in one of the bigger nations like that does triathlon, they don't even know what Ironman is. Like triathlon's just a small sport in general. So I'm happy that Ironman is still dominating. But I'm also happy the T100 is doing well too. So win-win for pro triathlon.
Yeah, one thing to mention too about T100, and I forget what account or what podcast, someone was talking about the business model of the T100 and like where the money's coming from, and like, at every Ironman there's an age group field, and like the money that gets put up from age groupers, that's funneling back to pros. Like a portion of that is going to the pros, right?
Mhm.
T100, I think a small few of their races have started, they have an age group field now. And I think they're going to have to start doing that more and more to like be sustainable as an organization. They're going to need an age group field to support, paying these pros. So
Mhm.
that's something to look out for too, is like, I'm curious as to how that would impact, um, age group for Ironman. Kind of like how you've got the challenge family races, or now I guess it's like Clash. I think in Europe it's still challenge, right? Or
Yeah,
Clash
Europe is still challenge. Yep.
challenge, but over in the States it's Clash, I think.
I think so. Something like that.
Yeah. And it's like, in my opinion, like I'm not gonna go do a challenge race. Like nothing against it. It's just that I race Ironman so that I can like get to a world championship. Like,
Wait, pause here, pause here. We're all gonna do challenge Roth here. Everyone in this
oh
call,
well, challenge
challenge
Roth
Roth
is
one day. One of the greatest triathlons of all time. So
that's an exception, I suppose. But for the most part, I'm focusing on 70.3 or full because I'm looking to get to a world championship through that. Um, there's not that much appeal to a race that, like, I don't know, maybe like Roth, yes, but some of these other races that there's not, I guess there's nothing to work like gain from it other than just the pure joy of racing.
mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
I enjoyed that, but I kind of want like an outcome from it.
Yep, yep, definitely.
Or like, you know, I'm going this upcoming year, I'm going to go to 70.3 St. George. Not going there to look for a half Ironman World Championship slot, but I'm going there because I've raced there 2 times before, and I want to kind of like baseline against those prior performances. And then it also happens to be the last year that they're doing that race, so it's kind of going to be exciting to do that.
Definitely. Sweet.
Yep.
So should we transition into the last part where we're gonna go over 2025 and what we want in 2025, goals
Yeah,
and all that?
let's do it.
Sweet. Parker, do you want to start us off? What are your race plans?
So I am currently signed up for Ironman Texas once again. Hopefully have a better result than what we did. I have one great result and then one not so great result. So hopefully this year we can go back having a good race at Ironman Texas. Excited to race it with Seid and 95% of the rest of the NVDM team. So he's huge there. So I'm very excited for that. But I don't really plan on doing a huge build into it like I did last year. I want to take a more kind of relaxed approach and really not go too crazy. We'll see if that holds true or not. And then after I'm in Texas, we'll take some time off. Hopefully headed to Boulder actually for a month to scope it out because long term I am thinking of moving there. I can't live at my parents' house forever. So we'll see. Maybe moving to Boulder in 2026, but I want to do a month-long training camp or so. And then I am racing 70.3 Mont Tremblant in June. That's the very end of June. So the goal is actually to do the training camp in Boulder like middle of May to the middle of June, and then use the altitude to race, have a good race at Mont Tremblant. And then after
Are you
that,
racing with anyone there, or is that a solo?
yeah, Rob and I. So
Oh,
Rob, another one of my athletes, we actually are getting a house together, and I think we're gonna drive up there because it's about a 7 hour drive actually from Chicago, so not too bad. So we're
That's
gonna
a great.
drive up
you gonna do
there,
that one?
huh?
Is Gabe gonna do that one?
No, he's not. He's actually doing Ironman or 70.3 Boulder, so he may be coming out to Boulder to train with me for a
Okay.
bit while I'm out there,
Sweet.
before his race. So yeah, so he's doing Boulder, and then after Mont Tremblant, I think it's going to be full steam ahead for Nice. We'll see. I may throw in, depending how Texas goes, I may throw in Placid, but I really don't want to. We'll see. But yeah, then Ironman, yeah, hopefully Nice if I qualify, and then after Nice we have Marbella, and then possibly one more full before or after Marbella to get a spot for Kona next year or Kona, yeah, next year, 2026. So that's kind of the tentative plans right now. Mike,
All right. So my race schedule, and I guess I'll kind of say my goals for each race as well. St. George 70.3 is my first one in May, and I'm hoping to go under 4 hours 30 minutes there. So that's a race that I've done twice previously when they hosted the 70.3 World Championship. Both times it just absolutely wrecked me. I was not ready for like the hills, and I think one year it was hot, the next year it was really cold, but it's also at slight elevation, like 3,000 up to 4,000 feet of elevation, which like when you live at sea level, going up to that the first couple days is always a little bit of an adjustment. So it's gonna be fun to do that one, and I'm going there with Ezra. We'll stay together and race, and I'm hoping he can pull out the overall amateur win. And then I'll head to Ironman Lake Placid again, and this time my goal is to break 10 hours there. It's a tough course, but I think that's pretty doable with a better bike and run split. We'll see if I can best the swim split. That was a good swim last year.
Did you go 10-11 or 10-15 this year?
10,
What
10, 12.
10-12? Right,
Yeah,
middle.
10,
Yep.
12, and like,
Yeah, you
yeah,
got that in the bag. That's luck.
the bike is where I can pick up a lot of time. Like the run went pretty well for me. Like it was well within like expectations on the run.
Mhm.
Um, and then I'll go to the World Championship in Nice. Very excited about that. Seid and I just got our accommodations
Oh,
booked.
boom.
Got to figure out flights next, but we've got the Airbnb booked. And this was crazy. I gotta make
Yeah,
a
this is.
about this.
Yep.
So, we go on Airbnb, we find a great place and like pretty reasonable price, more reasonable than most of the places around it. And it had more space. So when you book on Airbnb, they say like send a message to your host, and like me not thinking much about it, like, and it requires you to send a message. Like you can't do it if you don't send a message. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just tell the guy, Antoine, why Seid and I are trying to come visit Nice. And I was like, oh, we're gonna be there for the Ironman World Championship. Get a message like an hour later. He's like, oh, it's at instead of like $300 a night or something, he was like, it's actually gonna be 370 euros a night. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, our system wasn't updated and all this bullshit. And he's like, but I'll give you a discount at 350 euros a night. Or you can pay me directly $3,500 up front, you know, so you can avoid the Airbnb like cleaning fee plus, you know, whatever charges Airbnb puts on. And I was like, okay, I'm not sending this guy 3,500 euros because I don't think we'll get a place in Nice. And I was like, what? Like, we just got like bamboozled here on this.
Bamboozled.
Yeah.
So we like looked at a couple other places, and like everything that was around that place was like right at what this guy was asking for. So we ended up taking the slight discount, or well, the upcharge and then discount down from that.
Mhm.
But we got our accommodation. Uh, and my goal at Nice is to go under 10 hours 15 minutes, which like I kind of maybe need to put a little more thought into that goal because I think the bike is going to be tough. I did spend some time looking at bike splits from the prior year, and it's a slow bike course. It takes a
Mhm.
long time. Like some good bikers out there were going like 5:30, which
Mhm.
would not be a good bike time. Like for some of the level of guys that I saw there, they're like if it was a normal Ironman, they're going like 4:30. So could be an hour slower than expectations. And then Ironman Arizona is where I'll round out my season. Try to go for a Kona qualification is like the primary goal there. And I think like to try and get that, I've got to be going under 9 hours and 30 minutes there. So, um, yeah, it'll be 3 fulls in 18 weeks. It's gonna be a lot on the body, but
Like last year.
yeah, yeah. How about
Yep.
you, Zaid?
So then for me, I'm gonna do start off the season with Ironman Texas.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm gonna say it can't really go much worse than last year, but you never know. Maybe I could go 14 hours this year. So we'll see. But no, my goal for Texas is I think I can go if it's not as windy as last year, I think I can go pretty fast. So I want to like ideally go sub 940, but we'll see. I have to go sub 10 first before I can even make that goal, but that's something I want to do around like 940-ish, 945-ish Texas. And then excitingly enough, I'm going back to Cambridge, Maryland to lose my 70.3 V card. So I'm doing my first 70.3. I'm doing Eagle Man, so that's gonna be really fun. No real goals actually, so I'm not gonna have like an overall time goal, but I really do want to like push the bike hard and push the run hard and see if I can push the bike hard and not blow up on the run. But no, ideally go sub 430, but we'll see. What I'm most excited about for 70.3 is that the swim is shortened 50%, so the time is going to be a lot less than an hour 26 in the water, so that's gonna be nice. And then to end it out, just Nice. So honestly, like the only thing I really care about this whole year is Nice. Every other race, like I'm doing it just to prepare for Nice. So no other result of the year is really gonna. I really don't care about any other result other than Nice. So yeah, Nice is my main goal, and as Mike said, it is a really hard course, but I do really want to go in like the 9:55 to 10:20 range. Like you never know on the day, but if I train as much as I want to train, that's my goal for the year. To do as well as I can at Nice. Especially because it's probably gonna be the last time he's gonna be the world champ. So it'd be really cool to do really well at a world champs in Europe. Yeah, that's my 2025 overview and goals.
My goal for Nice is to not drop my bottle on the descent. If I can do that, I'll be a happy boy. And make up some climb that and drop Mike on the climbs. That's my
Oh
goal.
yeah, that'll be our first full that we get to race together.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll have to see like what's gonna happen coming out of the water because we swim very close to the same level. So we might be able to swim together, get into T1 together, and then I mean, I know you're gonna drop me on climbs, but I'm trying to get skinny, so we're gonna see.
Just don't get too skinny. I think that screwed me at Texas last year too. That's something I also learned that
Yeah.
there is such thing as being too skinny in triathlon. And last year and at Ironman Texas, I think I was a bit too skinny. So we're not getting that lean this year.
Yeah, it's like, and that's a good point too, like learning lessons. I mean, I feel like we could do a whole podcast episode, like kind of like how Morgan Pearson has his like rules of triathlon. You could do like lessons learned in triathlon for age groupers and like, yeah, like when you are trying to cut down to like say your race weight, um, you kind of have to be careful about it. And it's not like you want to be like cutting all the way down until race day because you're going to be under fueling sessions probably and not feel great. But I think there is a fine balance though, because like I've raced at heavier weights, like for me, like maybe in like the almost to 170 range. And then at Lake Placid last year, I was 159 pounds. And for me, that felt awesome. So I think like this year, my goal is to maybe get under 159 down to like 155 and see how that feels. And if I feel like, I guess that my goal would be to try to get there by St. George. If I can get to that point, test it on a 70.3 that is also hilly. It's kind of a good simulation for, say, Placid and Nice. Then if it works, then try to stay at that weight.
Sweet. And then, so
I think we were going to talk about like training recently.
yeah, sure, we can do that.
You want to talk about your base block you did?
Yeah, I can talk about my base block. So, let me just open Training Peaks real quick, I guess. Let me see. So yeah, I had a base block that started I think, what was it? 3 or 4 weeks right after Ironman Maryland. So I took 2 to 3 weeks really easy, and then I had 7 full weeks for just 7 weeks of good training. So I did 7 weeks with an average of close to 20 hours. So I did 5 weeks were all at 20 hours, and then one was 19, or no, four all at 20, one was 23, and then one was 19, and then one was 15 because I got kind of like a mini sickness from traveling. So I had a big 7 week block that was really fun. Yeah, I call it like a base block because I really wasn't doing too much intensity. I guess we did 3 weeks of like a mini VO2 bike block in it, and then did a decent amount. So I guess we had 7 strong track workouts, and then just try to really, I think the main focus of the base block was a lot of mileage. So I averaged, my lowest mileage was 35, and we built up all the way to 100 K, which was really great. So that was really good for the base block. So I'm feeling really confident going to training now. So after that 7 week block, I took completely like 10 days off, and then I eased back into training last week. So last week was my first full week of training in 2025. So I hit 18 hours, just all really easy volume. I had a mini run niggle where I think just my IT band got really flared up from the travel to Spain. So that was really frustrating, but that feels pretty much completely fine. So yeah, I'm in my second week of training, just try to get to 18 to 20 hours. Then real training starts with the VO2 bike block next week. So 3 weeks of that. And then, yeah, well, I was talking to Parker. I think going into Texas, we're not going to do a traditional or as traditional of an Ironman build. And we're going to, in terms of bike power, we're going to really try to focus more on sweet spot going into Texas. So that's going to be exciting.
Yes, sir. My training has been, I had some decent training. It took me a while to bounce back from Kona. I got sick, as I mentioned. That's why I didn't do Cozumel. So I was getting pretty fit at the end of December, but then went to Florida for Christmas, got a little sick, got my wisdom teeth pulled. So I'm just coming back from that as well. So last week was pretty much all off. I did a little bit on Friday and Saturday, Sunday, and finally getting back into it now. But it's going to be, pretty much not much intensity for the next this week, and then maybe bring some. I'll be similar to Seid, really focusing more on that max efforts and sweet spot and VO2 work, and not too much Ironman specific intervals leading up to Texas.
Yeah, you swam a lot though before your wisdom teeth surgery, right? Didn't you get like 90K in like 3 weeks or something, like
Yeah, I
30K?
was hitting 30K a week, so I was feeling really good in the pool too. So that's something I was swimming I swam for 21 days straight, and honestly, I think I'm gonna start that up again. So pretty much swimming every day, just waking up and heading to the pool first thing. I just find that I've been really enjoying that and been definitely seeing the benefits in I think, yeah, and also then I can kickstart my day with the sauna too. So
Yeah.
get that in as well. But I've been really enjoying that. So I think I'm going to continue doing that, hitting the pool every day, even if it's just for some form work or whatnot.
You got to tell the audience a little bit about your sauna battles for anyone that doesn't follow Parker on Strava. Tell
Well,
us
we'll have an update
about.
coming soon about that. So stay tuned. But
Oh, okay.
yes, Mike.
All right. Yeah, so following Maryland, I took similar to what Say did. I took like 2 weeks pretty easy, then got back to training and like kind of was like building back up fitness from then until I think it was about November 16th. And things were going pretty well. Like I felt good. I ended up getting sick partly because I had work travel to Vegas, and it's funny. I had to do the exact same trip the year prior, and I got sick from Vegas like the same exact time. So I ended up taking 2 weeks off at that point. And like at that point, I made a coaching change, and like it had nothing to do with Parker. Like Parker and I are still great friends. We have this podcast, like we talk in a group chat almost every day, but I decided I wanted to kind of change up training stimulus, and I started working with Justin Metzler. Um and that started like almost like right at the time that I got sick. And when I started with Justin, he was like, I want you to just take like 2 weeks off of almost doing like nothing, just kind of do whatever you feel like doing on the day, but I don't want you like training too hard right now. So I took 2 weeks very, very easy and then kind of entered a foundational block in December. And I would say we did a couple on my like Saturday bike workouts. We were involved like doing a little bit of like 20/40s, 30/30s, and then 40/20s, just like some primers, nothing too crazy. Um, but the swims that I was doing, they were pretty good. They were pretty challenging. A lot of very short rest interval swims. And then I did some testing at the end of December, early January, like lactate testing. And that was good because I did have some good lactate numbers from back in like the end of October when I was like approaching like peak fitness. Um, and I would say my LT1 didn't really change at all. Like it's kind of like right where it's been, which is around 250 to 255. And I would say my LT1 is pretty well developed, which makes perfect sense because like that was mine and Parker's goal like all of last year was like getting that LT1 up because when I first did testing with Parker, I had a pretty big gap between like either like VT1, LT1 and like my threshold. So we brought that up for Ironman, made perfect sense and everything went really well. But now I've got a pretty small gap between my LT1 and my LT2. In my most recent test, my LT2 was around like 290. But my test before that, it was like 310. So we've actually lowered my FTP down. It was set to like 310, 315. Now it's down to 290. Which is kind of good too, because I have a VO2 block coming up for like this is my first week. I'll do 3 weeks of VO2. We'll do a retest, and then after that, it's kind of like up in the air depending on how the testing goes. Then we'll kind of uh, take a direction from there, whether it's like doing some more VO2 work or like some sub threshold and threshold work. But yeah, things have been pretty good. Like my run volume's still lower than where I was at in like October, November. But feel good. I think the swims have been the most challenging part for me right now. But swim fitness is good.
Sweet.
There we go. Anything else we want to chat about? What's going on?
Yeah, wait, let me just mention. So when I was saying my base block, so I was saying 20 hours. So that's, I know for like people that are like full-time triathletes, that's like really, that's nothing that's like an easy week. But like for me, I work 45 to 50 hours a week. So that really is like I'm only either working or training. So that to me was really exciting and really good. But then, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for our training. And then what I was gonna say was, so what do we want from the tryhards 2025. So what I was thinking is like we're gonna keep doing race recap content, which has been great. We're still gonna have all our like friends do race recaps and all that. But I also wanted to say to the listeners, you can reach out to either Parker, me, or Mike, and just any suggestions for the tryhards. That'd be great. Because we really love the podcast and wanna keep delivering you guys the best content that we can. Anything you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, I think this podcast especially, I think we had more structure than we've ever had. Thank you to Seid for putting together a bunch of good questions for us, and I made like 2 pages worth of notes, which I can't remember the last time I did that for a podcast, other than like I know we've had a couple of guests and I've prepared questions, but I like that, and I think that it helps us flow through an episode a little bit better. So I don't know, maybe the listeners thought it was better, or they like it just more off the cuff.
Definitely let us know. And yeah, and you can comment now on Spotify podcast too, which is a new thing. So yeah, definitely drop a comment on Spotify or YouTube, or if you want to review us on Apple, we'd appreciate it. But yeah, I agree with both of what Seid and Mike said. Keep on bringing on the guests, race recaps, talking about professional races, giving our hot takes, and we could also kind of do more, I think, reacts to like YouTube videos, like professional YouTube videos. I know that's we always watch all the professional triathlon content, so doing some more of that as well on 2025. But we have an exciting episode next week with some lactate testing. That's also something I invested in, a lactate meter. So I've been doing some of my own lactate testing, which has been interesting and lots of fun. It does get a little bit addicting, to say the least. But yeah, no, I think what Mike and Seid both said for the tryhards in 2025, we're definitely gonna keep this rolling.
Yep, just gonna keep building it, making it bigger and better and stronger. Yep, gonna be exciting.
We'll do a podcast episode too, kind of talking about lactate at some point and our application of it and testing and kind of what the hype around it is and whether you need it or don't need it. It'll be something we'll talk about.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. Definitely stay tuned. As I said, we got a pod. We'll have an episode coming next week as well. And then, yeah, we got lots of fun stuff coming your way. So hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Sweet. See you guys.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Try Hard podcast. If you enjoyed it, we'd appreciate it if you could share with others and leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can either DM us on Instagram, leave a comment on YouTube, or message us through the Spotify app. Lastly, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this week's episode, the Naperville Acupuncture Center. If you ever find yourself in the Chicagoland area and are dealing with some aches and pains, I cannot recommend Frank and Angela enough. They do an amazing job over there, and I promise you will leave feeling so much better. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you guys back here next week.